Hi, I wanted to talk to you today about something that came up in my interview the other day with Emily Hatfield from the Light Network. Really excited about that one. Really enjoyed getting to chat with another Christian woman. It's great. Coming out in November, so stay tuned for that one. But what came up was we were talking about how before I was a personal trainer in Australia and how it really took over my life, how I really became addicted to the way that I was eating and my fitness and everything. And I brought up the passage then, and I've been thinking about since then that passage in 1 Corinthians 16:15, where Paul says that the household of Stephanus were addicted to the ministry. And I said then that the ministry is really the only thing that we can be addicted to. But this is something that's very difficult today, especially as women. We have so many things in our lives. And as Paul said that, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient in 1 Corinthians 10:23. So he said all things are lawful. In other words, there's a lot of good things that are okay for us to do, but we need to work out whether they're helpful to our lives. And then Paul also said, I will not be brought under the power of any. How do we do this in today's world when there's so many distractions around us? This is what we're faced with, the challenge we're faced with every day. How can we be addicted to the ministry and yet still have all these other good things in our lives that we're supposed to be doing? So our problem is that in Ecclesiastes 12:13, Solomon says that to fear God and keep his commandments is the whole duty, or the whole of man, the reason that we're made and the reason that we're here and what we're supposed to be using our whole lives towards. What does that look like then? If we have all these other things we're supposed to be doing, are we supposed to just have our noses in the Bible all the time and just always be praying and always be doing something that's God related? Well, that's difficult, right? Well, everything that we do should be to the purpose of God, to the purpose of glorifying God. There should be means to an end and not a means to them, and not an end to themselves. For example, fitness. When we make our bodies fit and we get healthy, it should be for the purpose of being able to further ourselves in the ministry. We should be glorifying God in that and not doing anything wrong as we do it, not getting obsessed with it. With our eating as well, when we're healthy, we feel better. We're able to better communicate with people. We have more confidence. When social groups, these can be good. Sometimes people can get a bit too involved in them, but if we use them right, we can use those social interactions we have to bring people to Christ and to be a good example. Also, social media. Social media is a great tool. You can use it to encourage people, and you can be a good example, shine your light on the internet, which is where everyone is nowadays. But it can also be very addictive. There's been a lot of studies done recently about how people get addicted to the internet and social media. So, finding the balance. How do we do it? Well, I've got a few points for you today. First of all, we need to test ourselves. Test yourself. What are you spending the most of your time doing? Whatever you're spending the most of your time doing is what matters to you the most. What is it? Have a think about that. What is it that you go to first when you wake up? What is the first thing that you say? What do you talk about the most? Have you ever been with one of those people that all they can do is talk about this one topic that they really love, and you're just like, man, I don't want to say anything to them. They're going to talk about this again. I know I can be a bit like that sometimes. I love food, and my mum told me once that about 50% of the conversations I'm in are about food, which is probably true, so I probably need to check myself with that one. But yeah, what do you talk about the most? That's probably what's most important to you. Also, what's getting in the way of you doing the Lord's work? For example, Facebook again, because we're all on there, right? Facebook. It's a great tool, but if you were sitting there in a cafe with your friend and your Facebook sends a message to you, or your WhatsApp or whatever, and you can't go 5 minutes without checking it, then it's really getting in the way of your ministry, because we're supposed to care for one another and build relationships with each other. And so if Facebook is getting in the way of real relationships, maybe it's time to give it a break or to really cut back. So the challenge we have also is that God tells us that we need to walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil, it says in Ephesians 5:15 and 16. So this is something that I've really been thinking about a lot lately, and we really need to be thinking, what are we spending the most of our time doing, talking about, thinking about, and what's getting in the way? So, how can we better ourselves? Well, we need to keep up our communication with God and pray for opportunities and pray for the wisdom to be able to use our time right. God says in James 1 that He will give us wisdom if we ask for it. I don't know how He does it, but He will. He promised that, so I believe it. So ask for wisdom to use your time well, and ask for opportunities, because the more you ask for opportunities, the more it will be on your brain, and the more you'll be caring about others and thinking about others, the more opportunities will come up, and the more you will take hold of those opportunities. So keep up your communication and pray. Also, keep God in every day. How can you be addicted to something that you don't know anything about? There's so many people, they say, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a follower of Christ. They don't know what actually that means. We need to know what that means, and to really, if we are addicted to this, we will want to know as much about it as possible. It's kind of like when you first start dating and you really want to know more about this person that you're just falling so much in love with. If we're falling in love with God and His way, then we're going to want to know as much about Him and as much about what He wants us to do as possible. Also, prioritize your time and your brain space. Choose a few good things that are good and that you enjoy, and then limit your time with those things. Like I said, Facebook, social groups, fitness, the things that we eat. These are all good things, and they can help us to connect with people, but we need to limit the time that we spend with them. Make sure that they're not the things that are taking over our brains. Limit your brain space. You only have so much. Put up a filter and make sure that you are putting enough of God's will and the things that are in His Word in there. And then when you have those time wasters, it's kind of like those rocks. You know, the illustration of the rocks in the glass. You put the big rocks in first, and then the little ones, and then they all fit. Well, if you put God in first, He's the big rock. So He's the big rock that you need to put in first, and then just let everything else filter through. But make sure He's in there first. Last of all, use even those things that you enjoy, the time wasters, as an opportunity to reach out. Like I said, I love food and I love coffee. They're my two passions. Also fitness. Food, coffee and fitness. And what I try and do is I try and connect with people over this. So people that are interested in any of those things, I try to bring them in on it, and I have had girls over to cook with me. I've had people over for dinner. I try to bake things for people and take them to them, or ask people to join me for workouts and such. And it's a way to reach out to people. You can use those things that you enjoy for good. You just have to have the right focus when you're doing them. So I know I need to work better on this. I'm being addicted to the ministry and not being addicted to anything else. So let's all purpose in our hearts to use our whole lives as a ministry, to use our whole lives and everything that we enjoy to the glory of God, and you'll see how everything falls into place. Thank you so much for listening again. Let's all work hard together on this one. Bye.